Welcome to this explainer. All right, let's just dive right in today. We are going to completely unpack the business blueprint behind a 19-year-old girl named Emily. This is such a fascinating story of someone who built a literal million-dollar brand from absolute ground zero scratch. We're going to look at the exact anatomy of her journey. We'll break down the decisions, the setbacks, and the strategies that turned pocket change into a total empire.
And hey, when I say pocket change, I mean that literally. Just picture this scene for a second. Emily is 19. She's poor, but she is wildly ambitious. She takes her small savings box, turns it upside down on her kitchen table, and empties it out. Exactly $1 falls onto the table. One single coin. Now, for most people, looking at a single dollar, when you have these massive dreams of entrepreneurship, that would be utterly crushing, right? It's the kind of moment that makes people quit before they even start. But Emily doesn't cry.
Actually, she smiles. And this brilliantly illustrates the exact mindset required for anyone starting a massive undertaking. She just says, maybe it's not enough to buy a dream, but it's enough to start one. Her hardworking mother, Sarah, who actually supports the family by selling homemade food, watches her and just smiles proudly. It's this really poignant moment from our source material that reminds us of a fundamental truth. Every great success, no matter how intimidating it looks at the finish line, begins with a very small, very deliberate first step.
So let's get into Section 1, the $1 dream, taking the first step.
Okay, so how exactly do you deploy a total capital of $1? Well, by creating a minimum viable product. She doesn't take out a massive loan. She doesn't spend months agonizing over a business plan. She just takes her last dollar and buys a few lemons and some sugar. She sets up a fresh lemonade stand right outside a local park to catch that natural foot traffic. Countless people walk past, but then, boom, it happens. She makes her first sale to a little girl. She successfully converted raw materials into profit with absolutely zero safety net. Her cheerful best friend Sophie, who is watching all of this unfold, dramatically claps and declares her officially a business owner. And they celebrate that absolutely vital first win.
Which brings us to Section 2, the reality of failure. The cost of expanding too quickly.
Look, we all know no business journey is just a straight line going up. Emily gets confident, right? She expands her stand way too quickly, pouring all her new profits right back into inventory. But she doesn't account for external variables. One rainy day hits, the park is totally empty. Zero customers show up. And because her product is perishable and all her capital is tied up, that single rainy day equals a total loss of her savings. She is left sitting quietly under her small stand, watching the rain literally wash her business away.
And that leaves us with this massive, hanging question. Was everyone right to doubt her? Emily sits there in the rain, whispering to herself, maybe everyone was right. It's that classic dark night of the soul moment. The tension is palpable. Should she just pack it up and quit? It's a crossroads we literally all hit when we try something new and fail right out of the gate. But just before she gives up entirely, her best friend Sophie sits down right beside her.
Sophie just looks at her and says, "No, you just learned your first business lesson. This is such a crucial reframing mechanism for anyone starting out. Early failure is absolutely not the end of a business. It is simply the first tuition payment of your entrepreneurial education. You didn't lose your money. You bought data. You bought experience. You learned exactly what not to do next time."
All right, Section 3, value over cheap shortcuts, the crossroads of mentorship.
Armed with that hard-earned education, Emily's business identity is really about to be forged. She meets Mrs. Wilson. Now, Mrs. Wilson is a highly successful businesswoman in the community who has been quietly noticing Emily's sheer determination. She steps in and offers Emily this incredible piece of mentorship. She tells her, businesses don't grow because of money. They grow because of value. That one sentence completely shifts Emily's perspective from chasing quick cash to building something truly sustainable. So, Emily immediately puts Mrs. Wilson's value-driven advice into practice. She rebuilds her foundation from the ground up through 4 very actionable steps. Step 1, she actually sits down and studies marketing to understand how to really reach people. Step 2, she obsessively improves her recipes so the product is undeniably good.
Step 3, she talks directly to her customers to learn what they actually want. And Step 4, she meticulously saves every dollar to build a buffer, ensuring a single rainy day will never wipe her out again.
But putting this new foundation to the test happens pretty fast. Enter a greedy local businessman named Mr. Grant. He approaches Emily with a shortcut, telling her, use cheap ingredients, nobody will notice. It's that classic temptation of short-term greed. But Emily, armed with Mrs. Wilson's mentorship, just smiles politely and refuses. She replies, I want loyal customers, not disappointed ones. Mr. Grant actually walks away laughing at her naivete. But spoiler alert, Emily's commitment to long-term integrity is about to pay off massively.
Moving on to Section 4, the Big Competitor Challenge, Surviving the Corporate Giants.
Because Emily prioritized uncompromised quality, she successfully scaled up from a street stand into a tiny brick-and-mortar juice shop. Her customers absolutely love her honesty and the incredible quality of her drinks. She even hires Sophie as her cashier, who, by the way, humorously gives herself the employee discount 5 times in a row, making Emily just burst out laughing. Things are going great, but suddenly, bam! The ultimate test. A massive corporate competitor opens a location right nearby, and they are offering drastically lower prices. Emily's employees completely panic. They think this is the end. They know they cannot compete on price with a giant corporation that has endless resources. They are utterly terrified they are going to be put out of business. But Emily? She remains entirely calm. She looks at her panicked team and delivers this absolutely incredible line. We won't be the cheapest. We'll be the best. She completely refuses to engage in a race to the bottom. Instead, she doubles down on the exact things the big corporation cannot fake: ultra-high quality and genuine personalized customer care. And guess what? Her customers stay fiercely loyal. They realize the cheap competitor tastes, well, cheap, and they return right back to Emily. And that leads us to our final part, Section 5, a $1 million legacy, full circle success.
Fast forward years later, and Emily is the owner of a famous, highly successful, healthy drink company. The sheer scale of her success is perfectly captured in a magazine headline that reads, "Girl who started with $1 builds $1 million brand." When a reporter interviews her for the piece, they ask her, "What was your biggest investment?" Emily just smiles and gives this perfect answer: "Believing in myself." It is literally staggering when you view this entire journey laid out end to end. It absolutely proves the unbelievable compounding power of resilience over time. She started with a single dollar from a savings box. She turned that into a fragile lemonade stand. She survived a wipeout, learned her lessons, and built a tiny juice shop. She survived a corporate giant by focusing purely on value, and then scaled that shop into a $1 million brand. But the story doesn't just end with her getting rich. She establishes a real, lasting legacy. Emily launches a dedicated program designed specifically to help poor women start their own small businesses. Her mother, Sarah, watches this happen, hugs her proudly, and makes this really emotional observation. She says, that $1 changed thousands of lives. And the source material ends with this absolutely beautiful, poetic symmetry. Emily visits the exact same local park where she sold her very first cup of lemonade all those years ago. A young girl approaches her, holding a single coin, and says, "I only have $1. Emily just looks at her, smiles warmly, and says, "Then you already have enough to begin."
As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with this final takeaway. Start today. Keep going. Never give up. Emily's journey is the ultimate proof that you do not need a massive windfall to start something great. You just need the courage to take the first step, and the resilience to learn from the falls along the way. Small beginnings truly can create extraordinary futures. So my question for you today is this: if $1 and a bit of courage is enough to build an empire, what exactly are you waiting for to start your own journey?